What's up, guys? This is Will here, and today we're going to be talking about the OP champions you ban in ranked for League of Legends solo queue ladder. And this is as of December 20th, 2013, the second week of December. And the first thing to note is that these sort of champions are, it's such a variable thing because these can change by next week, or they might still stay the same. Some of them, not all of them, some of them might have the chance of staying on this list for the next few months. And it's usually down to Riot, and Riot determining whether they're so overpowered that they need a nerf, or Riot just deciding, you know what, they're not overpowered, and they just ignore the fact that they're overpowered even though everyone's using them in solo queue, and then that's where it lasts for like a few months, and then Riot realizes, okay, now it's a problem. And this happens with a lot of champions. And I see it both ways. It's happened both ways. More so, Riot has lately been more on top of their game. So when they see a OP champion, they usually will nerf that champion pretty quickly. Not always, though. And that's kind of been the case for a few of the champions that I will bring up. So again, this is as of the second week of December 2013. I actually do these videos, and a lot of people don't realize that these change with each month. Sometimes they'll last a couple months, sometimes it won't even last a week. But as of now, as a platinum player on the North American server, these are very prevalent, and this list is very helpful for people in bronze, unranked, or silver, and even the lower tiers of gold, because in those tiers, the bans are the most random bans ever. There's no consistency in them. Up until probably high silver and low gold, there's really no consistency in the bans. So all these champs I'm going to list, you don't even have to, you just have to pick one and play him. And if you can play that champion on a decent level, you will climb elo. So the first one is Lucian. Now, Lucian is very obvious. He's banned every single game of the hundreds I've played in ranked solo queue in the last week. And quite recently with the latest patch, Riot nerfed him. But the nerf was insubstantial. It was a very subtle nerf that just lowered his range on his Q. And the reason why he's so OP and banned every game, people are wondering why. And the reason is simply because of the exploitation of his passive. Basically, his passive allows him to double auto attack after he uses a spell. So essentially, the longer you trade with an AD carry in bot lane, the stronger you get. Basically, the longer you trade, you win out the trade longer, because you can just use a spell, auto attack twice, use a spell, auto attack twice, and then the exchange, the longer it goes in your favor, as long as you make sure the minion aggro is equal or at an advantage to you. So that means you're getting less minion aggro than your opponent. How do you do that? You equalize the wave. You kill off more minions than your opponent before you decide to trade. And that's the biggest thing. That's what makes him so strong. Second one is Yasuo. Now, I think this is going to be something that's gonna change real quickly. Yasuo was recently released on the North American servers. It's his E. His E allows for his, it's not just his E, his whole kit. I'm not gonna elaborate. It's his whole kit. It's not just one thing that makes him fairly strong. He's definitely beatable. Yasuo was out on the public beta environment for about almost 2 weeks before the patch released him publicly. And therefore, I played on him for about 2 weeks. And on the On the PBE solo queue ladder, which is a lot harder and a lot easier in different ways, it was almost always a pub stomp game. Yasuo is someone who, like Riven, has to snowball, and if he wins lane hard, or not even hard, if he wins lane, he just snowballs from there. So Yasuo's on the list for sure. The next one, first off, before I get to anything else, I do have to say that Lucian, I don't even know at this point, because they did not change any of the other attack damage carries by much, and so Lucian has been a problem for a while, but nothing's been done. Nothing at all has been done to sort of solve that in any way. So I do think he's OP. If you know how to use him, you can definitely gain points on the ladder. On top of that, the third champion, I'm going to list probably less than 6. Third champion that's OP right now is Shyvana top lane. She works well jungle for sure, but her top lane presence is just amazing. Now, why did these champions surface all of a sudden? Because that's a huge question that gets asked a lot. People ask, hey, these champions haven't been updated for the last few months. How come all of a sudden people are realizing how OP they are? And Shyvana top is another one. No one even played Shyvana that much like a couple weeks ago, and now she's spammed the top. She's always played top lane. Well, first off, her W is very strong. And my answer is that it varies. Sometimes it's simply because people don't realize it. Other times it's a combination of things, and those things include the fact that maybe because other champions were nerfed, or in this case, because the Season 4 changes completely changed the jungle and some of the items and how the game worked. Certain OP champions were taken out of the mix, and that is why other champions who were at one point not OP suddenly become revealed. And that's usually how it is. Some people will say, no, it's just because they weren't realized to be OP up until now. And that's rarely the case nowadays. With the size of the game, it's very hard for something big not to surface and just be taken over by the meta really quickly. So, I think that's what it is. But again, that's not always the case. If you look at like certain champions, like Warwick top, excuse me, that used to be a huge thing a year or two ago, and the reason no one used it was because no one knew about it. No one thought it was viable, and that was it. It wasn't because of a change in the map and something like that's happened now with Season 4 changing the jungle camps and additional camp and so forth. But I think the reason why Shyvana top is spammed so much is because of the power of her W. She can win exchanges and just zone very well with that. She's also very tanky now, and with certain item changes, and just like the buff to her, I think she got buffed recently. That's pretty much what caused her to get to the stage where she's at. So she's pretty OP. She's always spammed. Dyrus he picked it up immediately and started implementing it into LCS. No explanation needed. And the biggest support for my hypothesis, it's not even a hypothesis, it's a statement. The biggest reason for this is because, like, if you just go onto League of Legends Reddit and you take a look at all the high level gameplays, Shyvana's in a lot of them, and you'll see her just wreck, because she can dive into a team fight with her ult. Her tanky dragon form is just immensely crazy. It can, like it's so tanky. Like I've played AD carry against a semi-fed Shyvana and a fed Shyvana various times, and she can literally dive in to a 5-person team composition, and from there, it's just like it's insanity because she gets like no damage on her. Like you can like auto her for like years, and it'll do like a quarter of her health, and she'll just wipe out your team because she has a lot of damage too with that. Especially if you build right. Like you can build Sunfire Cape, which is a tanky item, but because of the magic damage passive, you can still deal damage with it. And like a lot of her spells are AoE, which stands for Area of Effect. So she can't do like she can do both aspects of it. And everything else right now, I think, is just meh. People are saying, "Oh, Jinx is so OP right now." Jinx was the same level ever since her release. Okay, I think she has weaknesses as well as strengths. I don't think she's OP to the point you can just pick her up and dominate. It's Jinx's power level increases with your skill level. That's it. If you suck with her, you're gonna suck in game. You're gonna feed. If you're good with her, and most of the time, most people watching this video think you're good. They think you're good, but you're not. Like a lot of people, gold and below, they think they're good, but they're not. And the biggest problem with Jinx is that most people don't play her right. They don't implement her Q right. So, like, I'll see a lot of Jinxes, even in high elo. Well, if you consider plat high, I'll see a lot of Jinxes in high elo, and what they'll do is they'll be super close to the enemy champion, and they're autoing, and they're using their long range form when they could use their short range form. It won't cost them mana, and it will like dramatically increase their attack speed. And they don't do simple stuff like that. But this isn't a whole tutorial on Jinx. I think she's definitely up there in terms of attack damage carry tier list. And I definitely pick her up. But that's just a recommendation. It's not to say that she's OP in any shape or form. But she's definitely much better than a lot of champions out there. Who else? Honestly, I think that's it for the most part. Like, a lot of people will say, in the jungle, there's a lot of OP people surfacing, like, Lee Sin, or fast clears, pretty much. Because of the new changes in Season 4, there's a lot of fast clears who are just, they're doing work. Because they can clear very fast, and because of the new camp and the way the jungle is set up, and the changes to Madrid's Blood Razors, and Wriggle's Lantern. Fast clearers, they can clear the jungle, they can counter jungle effectively, they can gank as well faster, they can get their buffs faster, they can mow down and steal buffs faster, and kill enemy champions. And that's what makes fast clearers come out on top in the current season. I don't think any are OP right now. People are saying, like Lee Sin's pretty good, Udyr's pretty good right now, and stuff like Vi's sort of falling off because they don't clear as fast. I think that's it for the most part. Those are the ones you kind of want to stick to. I definitely recommend them. Are they as OP as like Shyvana top right now? No. But I definitely recommend you guys check out stuff like Xin Zhao jungle and Master Yi jungle. I think those types of people have been they've been sort of underlooked. They're pretty fast clearers, honestly, and they're just straight up all in damage champions. They've been overlooked. They can do decent work. My personal favorite, and this is just like a sort of author's note, author's favorite sort of thing. I personally think that Zed has been overlooked for the longest time ever. I think Zed is ever since the end of season 3, he was nerfed, and because of that, people have been going to other champions like Rengar and Kha'Zix. Certain people would say Rengar and Kha'Zix are very strong right now and stronger than Zed. I still like Zed very much. I just like his tool. I like his entire toolkit, and I don't think he's OP, but I think he's definitely not nerfed to the point of oblivion. He can still do quite a lot in fights, and people, even back before he was nerfed and Faker was playing Zed, people were feeding with Zed. It's definitely a skill. He's a skill champion, much like Riven. But I definitely recommend Zed for anyone because of his skill kit for escapes, for gap closing, his passive, his abilities. It's just endless fun. Like, you don't have to worry about mana problems. You can escape. You can do a lot of damage. It's just a great guy. And if you want to play a little bit safer, and this is an opinion thing, but I'd recommend you check out Riven, Kha'Zix, and Rengar. All these champions, they function fairly similarly. They're melee champions. They scale on attack damage, and that's what they do. They scale on attack damage, and their intent is to do as much damage as possible to the squishies, and slash or protect and peel for your ADC. So I recommend these champions over things that have fallen out of favor right now. And now's the time to mention the few champions to avoid right now. And these are the slow clearers in the jungle, and then the people who are they scale badly and they're not effective right now. These include Malphite. He's just nerfed to oblivion. His base stats aren't good. Nautilus jungle. Blitzcrank. Blitzcrank actually is played quite a lot. The difference is he just sucks right now. He feeds every game. He doesn't scale well. He's not tanky enough. His toolkit isn't enough. Just because you land a pool doesn't mean anything anymore. If you land a pool as Blitzcrank as of December 20th, you're not going to get anywhere, honestly. Like, at most, you might be able to pull off some damage if you have the right attack damage carry to pull through for you, but pulls don't mean much anymore. So avoid Blitzcrank. Yeah, I'd say as for supports, look at Soraka has been buffed twice. Once dramatically, and then in the latest patch a little bit more. And for some reason, here's the thing with supports. I used to main Soraka support, and I still do. And despite her buff, I feel, in my opinion, she's been nerfed. Why? Because supports overall have been sort of nerfed generally in Season 4. I know it was the intention of Riot to buff supports Season 4, but like the results, at least in my opinion, don't show it. Like, Oracles was so strong Season 3, and I dominated Season 3 with Oracles up to Plat. And ever since then, I plateaued and even lost some games with Soraka with the new season, because there's no Oracles anymore, and it gave so much power. Like, you can black out the entire map with an Oracles. They removed Oracles. They limited the amount of wards supports could have. Season 3, what happened was I would buy like 10 wards and just like destroy their whole like jungle. Like, I'd use my Oracles, clear their entire jungle, black it all out, and for my jungle, for their jungle actually, I would ward with all my 10 wards. Now with Season 4, wards are limited, so supports can only buy 3. I know the intention was to force other players to buy more wards, but that's not the case anymore. That doesn't happen. they didn't buy more wards. They just used that little trinket they have, that totem thing. And so nothing's changed at all. And so, yeah, I don't like the support role anymore, even though I do main it in certain ways. I sort of play AD carry and mid now. I'm sort of a jack of all trades. And, yeah, if you have to play supports, I still recommend, Soraka, but try something with CC now, like Tarek, Sona, Nami. Those champions are very strong. And that's all I gotta say. As always, like, favorite, comment, and subscribe for more. And we'll stay in touch. Peace.